Here's another way of making evergreen leaves, evergreen branches. I don't know what this is called. I might find out, and if I find out, I'll put up a notice to say which type of plant it is. But I found this down the street in somebody's hedgerow. It's a type of evergreen. It's some kind of furry type tree, and it produces these nice little branches, which look quite a lot like a small version of a larger pine tree type branch. So I'm going to make a mould from this, and then we can use it for using liquid Fimo in to produce multiple branches that are just the same. We could use this as it is, but unfortunately when it dries it tends to go brown, and you would have to stabilise it with liquid Fimo and paint it, but that is possible obviously. And if you just want something temporary, it looks absolutely beautiful just on its own. You can use it just for Christmas on its own, for miniature Christmas trees, slotted into the wire mesh that we did before. But I'll just make a mould from this one. Those of you who've watched my YouTubes before will already know how easy it is to make a minute mould and how quickly. Other mould materials are available. This is my brand, which is called Minute Mould, and it is very, very quick setting. If you live in a hot country as I do, you might find it better in summer to use a different brand, because I'm finding this is setting a little too quickly in Spain in summer. I keep asking the manufacturers to slow it down just a little bit, but they haven't responded so far. But anyway, so just mix the two parts, an equal quantity of each part together. Mix it as quickly as you can if you're working in summer. If you're working in winter, as I am, just before Christmas, then you shouldn't have a problem. You can take as long as you like. But it sets much quicker when it's warm. This has got plenty of time. Give it a really good mix. As you can see, I'm smearing it across my hand and then rolling it up again to make sure it's really well mixed. Now I'm going to make a shape that's roughly the triangular shape of the leaf itself. And I want to put the back of the leaf in because it has, no, in this case, sorry, I'm making a mistake. I want to put the front of the leaf in this case, because it has the greatest amount of texture, and I want as much texture as I can get. So I'm pressing that onto the surface there and pressing it really hard down so that the mould material spreads around all of the leaf parts, and they all want to be really nicely separated so everyone can be seen. And then when you're using these later, you can use either small part, the whole thing, or small parts, or even smaller parts. You can use the tiny end ones, or you can make more than one mould. I always advise making more than one mould if you're going to use it for liquid clay. And these tiny leaf parts, it is better using liquid Fimo for it, because the main clay won't stick into the mould, and the liquid it'll just come back out again, and the liquid will settle nicely into the mould and will bake in the mould. Now when you make a mould like this, don't forget, as soon as you've made it, to wash it up with washing up liquid, or with a little bit of alcohol to clean off the oils, because the oils will affect the setting of the liquid polymer. So this is now hardening already. You can see it's already starting to harden, and that'll be ready in just a few minutes. Right, well, on a very rainy day in Spain, I'm continuing the mould for my little fir tree, etc. My fir, we'll be doing a tree and a wreath with it. So if you haven't already seen the explanation about how to make goo, this stuff is goo. And that's what I'm going to be filling the moulds with that I've just made. You'll also need some wire, flower wire. This is Japanese flower wire, it's quite fine, but you can use slightly thicker flower wire. And preferably in the same colour as you're using. And I'm using a dark mix made from, this is actually made from Cernit's olive colour and liquid Fimo. It's nice and it's nice and smooth, so that it'll go into the mould quite easily. And then you just smear this into the mould with either you can use a butter knife like this, or I'm using a cheap artist's palette knife, one of the cheapy packs you can get. Smear it right in and press it nice and hard into the mould, and then take off all the excess, especially around the sides, but you also need to get the excess off here. Now, if I haven't already said, you definitely need to to wash your moulds before you use them, and I would wash them really well with washing up liquid or with alcohol, and dry them down really well before you start. If you don't, the first time you use the mould, your leaf will crumble completely. Don't worry about that, it might still do it even after you've washed it the first time, but you're going to make several. I'm just messing about here now, I don't normally spend that much time doing it. So you fill that like that, and then you take a small piece of wire and drag it through the liquid, the goo. So you'll find the goo on an earlier YouTube if you don't already know how to make it, but it's very simple. It's just a mix of polymer clay and liquid polymer. And then you just press that into the mould. Doesn't matter. So then those are, I make as many of these as I can, these moulds, from the largish ones to very small ones, so that I don't always only have that size. For the tree, I'm going to need some very small ones at the top and some longer ones at the bottom, so I like to make a good series of them. So that's that. And I've just taken these out of the oven, and it's still warm, so the raindrops as I came through the rain, because I've got an outside oven, which is very useful. It means I don't have to inhale any of the fumes. So this one's very similar to, no, that one's the same as that one, about the same size. And you should just be able to gently ease these out. Now that one's a new mould, so that's what happens with a new mould. They come out crumbly. Should still be able to use those little bits. I used them in the previous video, the one with the pine cones. So let's see if we can get one that's come out well. It may also be that I haven't cooked them hot enough. Here we go. This one's coming out much better. So you get a really nice branch with all its little pieces on. And you can use these pieces individually, or you can leave them on the branch. Let me do a smaller one. There we go. The small ones obviously come out very easily compared. And that's going to give you a full range of the sizes. Don't throw any of these bits away because you can use them. And if you make a lighter colour, they even look like samphire for seafood, which is quite nice. Just take one more out. Okay, so let me just pick up some of these smaller ones because I'm going to use them now. So you don't only need them to make trees, but if you're going to make any other decorations that involve greenery, it's quite a useful material for that. So here, I'll just move that knife over there. Here, whoops, I've just made a wreath, a floral wreath, out of this material, and again Japanese floral wire. Best thing to do is to take a fairly long piece of the floral wire. Let me see, because it's going to want to twist a good few times. Half of one of these extra long ones. These extra long ones are about twice the size that you normally buy, so a full size normal one will be fine. Right, and then take some of your greenery. I've got some more over here. Some more bits and bobs. I tend to put the slightly scruffy ones in. This one's another one that's broken, so it may or may not be any use with this. So you fold your wire in half, and one by one you tuck these into the wire. You don't have to be too careful, and just twist. Don't worry about little bits that drop off. Just twist in, and then immediately you want another one. I'll have one of these because that one's rather a straight looking material. Don't worry about little bits of wire sticking out. You can trim or wind those off later. So you're just twisting round. The way I twist round is I put my finger between the two pieces of wire and just twist like that. So then another piece, and you can make a wreath of whatever size you like by this method. A small piece there. Some of these are a bit crumbly because I made an extra set of moulds, and as I say, the first time you use them they can be a bit temperamental and crumbly. The rain's really coming out and down here today, which just goes to show that the rain in Spain doesn't stay on the plain, it comes into the hills more than anything else. And it fills our well, which is rather nice, so I don't get upset about it. Have plenty of sunshine, so we need some rain. There we go. So just in case you're wondering, our winter here is a bit like spring in England. It's wet and sometimes sunny and very green. It's when the plants start to grow in winter. Everything greens up and looks very pretty indeed. I really like it. Obviously I like the sun even more, but I like the seasons here in the Sierra. So we're nearly there. Just a couple more, I think. And you can decide to what extent you want it to stick out, the pieces to stick out. This one I've made them quite short. These ones are sticking out quite a long way. But I might tame them a little bit. Right, so when you get to the end, take the wire from the first one you put in, and twist it all together so that it joins it. And then I usually just keep on twisting. One of those in there is a bit crumbly, I think. Yeah, that one. I just keep on twisting until I've got enough to make a loop. If you've got any holes later, you can add extra. So there's the loop, that's to hang it on, and then you need to hide the end of the wires in there. Tuck them away, wrap them round. They won't show, or if they show, you can hide them with your decorations later. So just any wires that you find the ends of, just wrap them round once and then you can just trim them off. My next set will shed less of this. It's just that they're brand new moulds, and it's the oils in the silicone that tend to shrug off the polymer. Okay, I think that's good enough. So then with a pair of scissors and trim off all those excess bits of wire. You could also use the wire to thread beads onto, but that's a long process and I'm a bit short of filming time today. So there's the, it's not quite as pretty as the first one, it's a little bit, it's short of a bit there, which I could add. I'll probably add a bit there, actually, just to, yeah, that's better. And from then on, basically, it's up to you what you add to it. Obviously, because I made pine cones the other day, I'm going to add some pine cones. And the pine cones are on the video from day 1 of the Advent calendar. So you should be able to find those quite easily. Now you can stick these on with more liquid Fimo and bake again, but I haven't time to do that. Oh, this is not coming out. Which is typical. Whenever you're filming, things go wrong. So I'll just take a little bit of this glue, because it is the extra thick, fast setting type. And just making sure that if your pine cones have got a shiny side, which they usually have, stick its shiny side down so that you can't see it. And they look nice in pairs or threes. And to keep the video short, I'm not going to stick all these on. I'll show you a final shot. But also, where have I put that? Ah, yes. I also have some of my superfine slices here. I've got one that's got holly and ivy in it. Unfortunately, during December, Frank closes up the shop. So if you want it, you'll have to go to one of my suppliers. You can ask me on Facebook or on my website who to go to. But we are intending to put a list up if we can. So little holly leaves, ivy leaves, whatever you think is going to look pretty. You can also put beads on to accentuate the berries. And we're started, and you'll see some finished examples at the end.